But at the same time, once you do get to that threshold of white people that you have to hire, then you start excluding candidates who would be potentially better than the ones that you are hiring next. Because you can't, it's like you've met you got your cap salary already. Like if you want to compare it to sports, it's like, hey, I want this player who is worth $50 million a year, but my cap won't allow me to won't allow me to draft that player. So I got to draft a player that's only worth $2 million a year. And then we miss out on the ring. That $2 million a year basketball player, he's still really good because he's worth $2 million a year. But he ain't as good as the $50 million player.
Yeah,
but how do you think? Like, I agree with what he's saying, because as a person that, if you are a person that getting on the plane, could you imagine if every pilot, every person in a profession had to wear their credentials on their back explaining what they passed when they took their exam? Could you imagine it? I only passed 70% of my exam, but I passed because of DEI. Could
no,
you
I don't think that's not how it really goes. I think you have a minimum standard to be a pilot, period. And if you don't pass that, no matter what skin color you are, you can't get a pilot's license, period. So what they're doing as far as the DEI is when they hire people based on, I guess, their experience and their proven ability beyond the bare minimum of what they have to do to obtain a pilot's license. So that's a little bit different. It's not necessarily saying, I only got a 70. Normally that'd be failing, but I passed because I'm,
But they said that they're relaxing the standard to meet DEI. What would that entail people? That you relax the standard to be a pilot in order to meet DEI quotas?
Well, I think that was something that Charlie Kirk said. That's not necessarily what's in the.
It's another video of the.
But I mean, I'm saying, is that what's in the?
It was another video of
in the DEI policy.
Actually, yeah.
It was
This
is going back some years.
Yeah.
And I actually, for whatever reason, I got caught in this listening to this broadcast where they were talking to the FAA.
Yep, I know a video.
Black dude, and he was saying how they were looking to get more black pilots, men and women, engaged in becoming pilots, and they had these programs, and it was weird because I heard the program, but it didn't dawn on me. And then the incident with the helicopter and the plane happened. And that's when everything went up into an uproar about, DEI. And let's be honest, it's like DEI is responsible for a lot of jobs created for people that were underqualified. Mm-hmm. And we're here in Chicago. I just need to point south to Dalton, Illinois, where you let a mayor of a Tiffany Henyard become a supervisor and a mayor. No doubt it's funny, but think about it.
It is.
She was the first black mayor, and other thing, but that's what they rode on because that's what the people wanted. And again,
is that DEI or is that people who is voting?
But
it is definitely DEI because
those are people that voted for it. Though.
The people that voted for her believed in that DEI, and if you listen to her campaign, it was all the first black woman this and first black women that, and you should vote for me because I'm a black woman, and that was her whole spiel. And I'm sure that I'm just using it as an example. It doesn't have to go too deep. But it's an example of a person being hired that was not qualified. They knew that she wasn't qualified to be a superintendent of the Thornton Township. She wasn't qualified to be mayor. But they brought her in. And we could use another example. It doesn't have to be Tiffany.
I don't know about that one.
We can go with...
But no, I get what you're saying. Yeah. You don't have to convince me. I definitely am not a big fan of DEI in general. Like I said, in private conversations before, I'm like, I feel like it
is definitely a video.
Never
out there.
be good enough to do this on your own. Yeah. So here, let's.
It is definitely a video out there of the FAA guy making that statement that we relax standard to meet DEI.
Yeah, so that's what I think that was what I was about to ask. I'm like, because you didn't explain that part of it, because that was the thing that I didn't really quite get, because I was under the impression that you still had to, in order to be hired, you still had to meet a minimum standard.
Yeah, because that
But-
was one.
But at the same time, we have to pick from a pool of people who meet those standards, and a certain amount of those people have to be of people of color or women.
Yeah.
So
But
It's it's just how, I guess it's one of those things that was going around the internet after Charlie Kirk passed, that people were saying
he was murdered. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
yeah, Paris sound like he
assassinated.
died from a sickness or something.
Right. Yeah.
After he was assassinated.
Yeah, murdered is better.
Okay, but we gonna go with murder. He was murdered. 100%. It was definitely one of the things that was going around the internet. People sharing the clips of him, talking about DEI and how he wanted to get rid of it, or even the Civil Rights Act in which he was talking about. It just, you got to educate yourself and go watch these videos to see exactly what he meant. Just like the video we just watched. It makes. I agree with him. Like it
Right.
just like, but on the internet, if you just watch a 30-second clip, 15-second clip, you'll be like, what? And you never know who he is. Just like you said, if you don't know who the person is, and you watch those 15-second clip, you would think otherwise. But you have to go out there and watch these videos,
Because if not, you're gonna be led. And just real quick on this, I was like, this is to me one of the most scariest times. I got some years on y'all. I was like, but this right now, this whole thing seems off. Meaning this timing and this atmosphere and this place that we're living in right now. And I was like, I don't care what anybody says or does. Charlie Kirk could have had on the Ku Klux Klan outfit and got on this broadcast every night and was like, one of these days we gonna get rid of all you. To me, honestly, it's like it's my choice to watch it or choose to listen. So it would have never happened. I would have never known who Charlie Kirk was if he'd have did some shit like that. Maybe somebody would have been like, man, this is crazy white dude on YouTube dressed in the KKK. All right, well, I ain't got nothing to do with that. But in that same thing, does anybody have a right to go pop him? Like, just because he's in the KKK uniform, and would I agree with that? Absolutely not. I don't care if you KKK. I don't care what you do. That's on you. I was like, but at the end of the day, for somebody to say, hey, we're going to go take somebody's life based off of what they said, that is completely wrong.
Yeah,
that is wrong.
I know a lot of people like to.
So real quick, one more thing on the DEI for the FFA. How much do we think? Well, okay, I'll just say I'm using ChatGPT to I ask the question, and then I'll preface all of this by saying how much, I guess, trust do you have in asking ChatGPT a question and getting a factual response, not a nuanced response, not a scientifically 100%, like give a percentage rating on how factual you
About
think.
70%.
Think
Oh,
so.
ChatGPT.
What do you
I'm gonna say 60% because they're still pushing a narrative. Like they
You think so?
When you ask ChatGPT a question, at least the standard one, not the more advanced one that has the better algorithm, the standard one that everybody use. Even as you act to prompt something, it's already changing how you said it. And even if you say, I want you to focus on this, and it already changes it for you to fit a better.
Well, I mean, okay.
I still feel in some way, shape, or form ChatGPT push you either right or left, depends on what you ask.
What you've been talking about previously.
Yeah.
All right, so just real quick, and then we can pivot, and then I'm gonna say real quick. I asked ChatGPT, does DEI programs for the FFA, do they lower the standards for hiring and licensing pilots? And they gave me a long thing.